If you follow this video step by step, you will be making at least 10K per month within 6 months from now. If you don't follow this video, then within 6 months from now, you're going to be in the exact same position that you are right now. So here's step 1 out of 3 steps. You need to find someone who's running a successful service-based business and copy them. Now, the reason it needs to be a service-based business specifically is because when somebody buys a service, they are buying a skill, and any skill can be learned for free. Now, the issue with things like dropshipping, trading, Amazon FBA, and all these other ways to make money online, they all require a significant upfront investment, and quite frankly, the margins are horrendous. So even when you eventually do crack the code on these business models, you're still only going to be making 10 cents on the dollar. And this is the thing that nobody talks about. And by the way, this is coming from somebody who doesn't have a course or a coaching program to sell you. This is purely from my own experience and based on what's worked for me. Now, when I started, I had no money, no experience, no knowledge on how to make money. Yet fast forward a few short years later, and I currently run a $10 million per year company, which employs over 25 of the smartest people in my industry. And guess what? The way I started was by learning a skill that I could then later sell as a service. And the reason I said to find someone who's successfully running a service-based business that you can copy is because number 1, that's what I did and it worked very well for me. But more importantly for you, number 2, if someone is successfully running a service-based business, it means 2 things. First, they are serving an industry that has a need or a desire for that particular service. And remember, a service is a skill which you can learn for free. So if they have a desire for that particular service, it means that they have a desire for that particular skill, which again, you can learn for free. Now, secondly, that industry or niche is willing to pay to use that service or skill. This immediately sets you up for success because you know that the skill you are acquiring, the skill that you're spending so much time trying to learn, that skill is genuinely valued by a certain person. That certain person, again, is the niche or the market or the industry, whatever it is. And on top of that, that particular person is willing to pay real money and typically a high amount for that particular service. Whereas on the flip side, you could become the best orange peeler in the world if you really wanted to, but there's not going to be a market in which you can serve with that service who are willing to, number 1, pay you. And even if they are willing to pay you, they're probably not willing to pay you a lot of money. Whereas on the flip side, if you can see that XYZ person over here is offering, X service or skill to this particular market successfully, then you know with certainty that if you learn X skill, then Y market is interested in paying for that service. So now it's just as simple as that when you're starting out. Now, of course, as you grow, it becomes more advanced in terms of offerings, deliverables, sales processes, teams, recruiting, etc., etc., etc. But even with my own 10 million plus company, at its core, we still provide a service to a niche or a market, depending on what terminology you use, that is willing to pay us every single month to receive that particular service. That's it. So that's step 1. Now, step 2, do not buy a course or coaching program to begin with. That is step 2. Instead, force yourself to learn everything you can about acquiring that skill for free on platforms like YouTube. And you must commit to going to sleep each day being better at the particular skill you've identified than when you woke up that day. If you can commit to that one outcome, in 6 months' time, you're going to be at 10K a month with no question. Now, to revert back to one thing I just said before, which is to not buy a course in the beginning, the reason I say that is because number 1, you don't need to, since everything you would ever need to know is either in books or on YouTube. And secondly, if you pick the wrong skill or you think you need X when in reality you need Y, then you've just lost a ton of money buying something you just don't need. So once you've identified someone or a company who's selling a service successfully, that is, in a particular industry, then you want to spend the next 30 days or so learning everything you can about that particular skill that, again, underpins that service. For example, this could be things like Facebook ads, conversion rate optimization, YouTube, SEO, copywriting, blog writing, amongst literally thousands of other skills. It doesn't matter what the skill is. What matters is you identify a skill that's desired by a particular industry. And the reason I say in the beginning to start with just 30 days to learn the skill is because in the beginning, 30 days is all you really need to understand any skill at its core and be better than the average person at that skill. And in the early days, that's all you need. Of course, as time goes by, your ultimate goal should be mastery of that particular skill. However, to get your first couple clients, you do not need to be a master. All you need to be is better than the average person, because the client you're going to be signing up probably is the average person at that skill, if not below average. That's why they're actively looking for the service that you're offering. If they could do it even half as well themselves, most of the time, they're just going to do it themselves. Or they're going to hire somebody in-house who they could manage, who's going to implement that skill. Now, if they're looking to outsource, not all the time, but a lot of the time, that particular company or person, whoever you're offering the skill to or the service to, they have no idea about how to implement or operate that service that you're learning. I'm going to go all in on Facebook ads. You'll be able to get your first couple clients in the door simply by just being better than the average person at Facebook ads. However, obviously, I'm sure 10K a month is only the first goal for you. At least it was for me back in the day. So for me to go from 10K a month to now 10 million a year, for example, we've had to become absolute masters at our service, which in this case actually is Facebook ads for sales call funnels for online service-based businesses. That's what we do. But to get your first couple clients and get to 10K a month, you just need to be better than the average person. Now, this takes me into step 3, which is the making money part. Step 3 is the get clients part. And here's how you do that. Just buy my course. No, I'm joking. At this point, you know that the skill you are constantly learning day in and day out is desirable since you've seen people pay top dollar for it. So this shows you that a particular niche is actively wanting that service. Amazing. So now to get your first few clients, all you need to do is create an irresistible offer that gives that particular niche or industry their desired outcome, which again, you should already know what that is, that they deeply want in their heart of hearts. Now, how you create an offer is very, very simple. You identify the specific outcome, which is usually a metric, which I'll explain here in a minute, that the market wants, which you should already know, and you guarantee them that you'll generate them a high volume of that particular metric, and they only pay after you've delivered it. So let me break this down, as there's a lot to unpack here, and it's super important that you understand this because this is how you're going to get your first couple clients. So let's say you help med spas get more in-clinic appointments. This is a complete example, by the way. Now, the specific metric that they want more of in this example is in-clinic appointments. The next step, once you've found that desirable metric, you now need to think about what's a desirable volume of that metric. In this case, let's say, for example, it's going to be 60 per month, right? Which is around 2 per day. Okay. So 60 in-clinic appointments each and every month. Now, as a side note, if you want to know how do you find the desirable volume for the particular metric you're looking at guaranteeing, i.e. do 10 per month, do you do 100 per month, do you do 5 per month, do you do 50 per month? How do you know what to guarantee? How I used to do it, and again, I would still recommend this to you right now, is if you're just starting out and you don't inherently know that number, all you need to do is look at a couple competitors or a couple of the people in the industry who are also going after a similar market and just see what are they guaranteeing or what's the numbers that they reference. Now, you want to look at across, I would say, 3 or 4 different companies at minimum, just to get a rough kind of average feel of what the market is saying. Obviously, you don't want to look at one and then base all your decisions on that one company. Just get an average feel. And then usually what I would do is I would then recommend to just guarantee a little higher than what they're doing. So if they're doing 10 a month of whatever the metric is, I would just say do 15, right? If they're doing 50, you might want to do 60 a month. And the reason why, by the way, is because of the payment terms that I'm going to explain in a minute. So your offer in this case would be med spas will guarantee to generate you 60 in-clinic appointments every single month, and you only pay after we've delivered. Now, that's a very basic offer, right? Of course, these offers can be a lot more complex. However, again, to get your first couple clients, which is our only goal here, we're not trying to scale to $1 million a month or 100 grand a month or whatever. We're just trying to get your first couple clients. In order to do that, this offer would work. Now, the reason I just said in that offer, you only pay after we've delivered the results is because if you try and charge upfront for your services in the beginning, number one, you will close 0 clients because whenever a client pays for something, they weigh up the cost versus the value. Now, the cost is what they pay, which is your price, and the value is what they get, as well as the likelihood of them actually getting that outcome. Now, the problem, if you don't have any results or case studies, which you most likely won't if you're just starting out, is the likelihood you will deliver what you say is literally 0 since you have no proof to back up your claim, which is why you'll sign 0 clients if you try and charge an upfront fee, which, by the way, is what most people do and is why they fail. And secondly, it's simply not ethical, in my opinion, to charge upfront for a service that you've never delivered before. So because of those two things, it's much better and easier to only charge after you've delivered the client results. This will make it so much easier for you to sign your first couple clients. Just trust me on this. It'll be far easier for you. Now, here's the thing. What I'm not saying here is to work for free, since you can charge anywhere from $100 to $500 per outcome you deliver, which in the prior example I just mentioned would be in-clinic appointments. So for every in-clinic appointment you book, you would charge between $100 and $500. And what this allows you to do is easily sign new clients, even when you don't have results, since obviously, again, there's 0 downside from the client's perspective. If they don't get results, then they simply don't pay anything. And the good thing about it is you still make money whenever you do deliver results. Since if you charge, for example, $300 per appointment, as an example, and you deliver 10 appointments a month, which is really not that hard, that's $3K a month right there that you'll be making from that particular client. Now, here's the thing. You got to remember, if you tried to pitch that same client $3K up front originally when you signed them up, they would have immediately said no, since you have no proof, and it makes sense. But because you changed around the payment terms and instead said it's $300 per appointment after you deliver it, all of a sudden you remove any risk from the client's end, and now you've just closed them since there's no reason why they wouldn't close. And now you're making $3K a month from a client that you would never have signed any other way. And not only that, but on top of actually making money from your first couple clients, which again, you'll be able to sign easily, you'll also be able to easily gather case studies and testimonials from these these clients, which you can then later use to then charge upfront. By the way, will be worth far more to you than any amount of money that you could have charged upfront to begin with. So once you've created your irresistible offer for a market that you know is hungry for your service, you now need to get as many eyeballs onto that offer as you possibly can. And do not discriminate when it comes to client acquisition methods. Use everything you possibly can to get your first few clients in the door. The question that I hate the most from a beginner is, what method of acquisition is best to get clients, or what client acquisition method is best? Do not ever ask that question. Instead, the question is, how many client acquisition methods can I use at one time? How can I do email outreach, do DMs, do ads if you've got a little bit of cash sitting around, do cold outreach on LinkedIn? Like, it doesn't matter. Just do every single method you possibly can. Do not choose one and only do that one. Since in the beginning, because your main focus is not efficiency, it's not scalability. You're not trying to get to 100K a month. You're trying to get 2 clients, right? 3 clients, 4 clients, whatever it is. I cannot stress this enough. You have to accept in the beginning, you have no leverage. So you have to compensate for this lack of quote power with sheer output, volume, and hard work. Now, this is where your true discipline and hunger will be tested. Trust me, it will be tested. But it's at this point that if you just continue for 6 months and you continue to optimize and iterate your offer, your outreach methods and your scripts, etc., whether that be, again, DMs, ads, cold outreach, whatever, in 6 months' time, you will be at 10K a month. I have no doubt about it, because that's exactly what I did, and I'm not special in any way, shape, or form. I hope you found this useful, and go crush it.